that'll include the east side. We'll go towards the University of Texas, a little bit of South Austin. I'll be talking, but there will also be narrators playing out of your speakers. As I mentioned, we will stop once. We'll be at Austin Central Library. That'll be in about 25 minutes or so.
And tumbleweeds you might have expected. We have plenty of stories to share about our unconventional city that's the capital of Texas. You can imagine the wheeling and dealing that's gone on. Way back in 1836, when Texas became a sovereign nation with its own president, Sam Houston, and vice president, Mirabeau Bonaparte Lamar came across this area while hunting buffalo and proclaimed, "This should be the seat of a future empire." Ambitious words indeed. Today, you'll experience offbeat neighborhoods of Austin in all their wonderful weirdness. It's the unique brand of individualism that's made Austin one of the fastest growing cities in the United States. So, get comfortable and get your weird on.
So for quite a few years, we were actually the fastest growing city in the U.S. That recently got taken over by Nashville. So this past year, Nashville became the fastest growing city. Pretty similar to Austin. Just a little bit smaller, but soon maybe a little bit bigger. So we're starting this tour on historic 6th Street, which I'll be turning on right now. This street also has a nickname though. Locals, we call it Dirty 6.
In a city known for entertainment, 6th Street is Austin's most popular live music district. During the day, it's pretty quiet, but evenings are another story. The place is transformed. That's when you'll find yourself in the company of a few thousand music-loving revelers in search of a great beat and a cold drink. 6th Street is closed to traffic from Thursday through Saturday nights. It's especially popular with the university crowds who bring their youthful energy. Picture 6th Street partying goes on year-round. A portion known as East 6th Street is referred to as Dirty 6, but that's dirty as in debauchery.
Is the historic Driscoll Hotel, built by a wealthy captain, Colonel Jesse Driscoll, and completed in 1886. At one point, it was slated for the wrecking ball, but saved by a grassroots preservation effort.
It's going to be on our right-hand side.
Thank goodness. Not only because the bartender there makes award-winning cocktails, the Driscoll is a piece of living history. Take a walk inside, and you'll notice the hallways are extra wide. That was to accommodate women in their big hoop skirts. There was even a separate entrance for ladies, so they wouldn't have to be subjected to the rather salty language of the cattlemen who congregated at the hotel. The Driscoll has hosted every Texas governor's inaugural ball since it opened. But Lyndon Johnson, and Lady Bird in 1934. T-shirt that says "Keep Austin Moving." In Austin, different is good, and quirky is even better. We're a college town with smart students that being cool is a state of mind that comes with all the colleges. Austin has
So right now we're going to be turning onto 2nd Street. 2nd Street also has a nickname here in Austin, Willie Nelson Boulevard.
Willie Nelson holds a special place in Austin's music history. Many credit Willie with putting Austin on the music map. You can even say the modern music scene is divided between two eras, before Willie and after Willie, when he became a catalyst for a new sound called progressive country. Willie arrived from Nashville, clean shaven. As he settled in, his style started taking on the appearance of the long-haired hippies who came out to see him play. Suits and ties were replaced with blue jeans and bandanas.
Alright, so since this is Willie Nelson Boulevard, you'll see a statue of Willie on your right-hand side. Sitting right behind him is Moody Theater, home to Austin's City Limits, which is the longest-running televised concert series in the entire United States. Now, Willie was the first to perform there, so the city gifted him that statue as a little thank you. The legend behind it, it was unveiled on April 20th. You're familiar with the holiday 420 and Willie Nelson's fan base. You can just imagine how much smoke was in the air during that unveiling. Now looking to your left, you'll see this building here is made up of these large yellow stones. That is going to be Austin, Texas limestone. Start to pay attention, you'll see this limestone just about everywhere. It's because it occurs naturally in the hill country. So we have quarries out there that will quarry the limestone, bring it back into downtown, and we use that as our predominant architectural theme and building block.
Or should we say quite a hoot? It's called Kimplin's Owls. Picture two giant Texas great horned owl sculptures standing watch in downtown Austin by the arched bridge. These owls have a little surprise inside. Head swiveling mechanisms that allow them to observe their surroundings, maybe even you as you pass by.
So these are going to be to your right. I do suggest staring them in the eye. You'll see they follow us as we drive by.
It's not often that a public library makes it to a must-see list, so pardon us while we brag. Time magazine ranked Austin's Central Library among its 2018 list of world's great places to experience.
So it's on our left.
Yes, the world. Right outside the library is a red sculpture called the Beacon, just one of many public works of art throughout the city. The Beacon also happens to be the starting point for a fun and free mobile walking tour called Wander. Visit the website wanderatx.com to get started. Then choose among 4 different stories penned by Austin authors. At the end of each chapter, you get to choose what happens next. Think of it as creating your own adventure.
Is a memorial statue offering blues guitarist Stevie Ray Vaughan. He's standing tall, wearing a broad-brimmed hat, looking a bit more like I was just 35. Fans make it a point to pay tribute, often leaving flowers and personal mementos.
First Street Bridge, and we'll start talking about our famous Bat Bridge. It's going to be on our left-hand side as we go over this body of water.
Chances are, if you've read up on Austin, you may know what the official animal of the city is. Did you guess bat? Some places boast about their pretty sunsets.
To your left.
We have the largest urban bat population in North America. About 1.5 million of these speedy little creatures make their home under the Bat Bridge from March through October.
It is the permanent home of the Austin Symphony Orchestra, Austin Opera, and Ballet Austin.
On your left.
Free public tours are available. Check at the center or go online for current offerings. In its original manifestation as the Lester Palmer Municipal Auditorium, President John Kennedy was scheduled to deliver a speech on November 22, 1963, the day of his assassination.
Every time you see a lake around Austin, it's really the Texas-Colorado River. Life on the lakes is pretty great. The calm waters of downtown Lady Bird Lake are perfect for canoeing, kayaking, and stand-up paddling. To stage them all, big venues or small, indoors or outdoors, they're always busy. Zach Theater
On your
is
left.
one of our golden oldies. This complex dates back to the 1930s.
So we just crossed over Lady Bird Lake. That was the body of water to our right. Now Lady Bird Lake divides South Austin with downtown. So we started off this tour downtown, crossed this, and right now we're in South Austin. We're just here for a little bit. We're going to go back towards the library now. But this would be a really good place to try some authentic Texas cuisine. While you're here, you got to try barbecue. And the restaurant I always recommend is called Terry Black's. It's going to be located just about a half mile south of where we are right now. Some hills start to form out there. Those go on for about another 100 miles. That's what makes up the Texas Hill Country. It's going to be where the wealthiest Texans live. And to your right, you'll get a good view of downtown and Rainy Street. Now this skyline that we're seeing on our left-hand side is called the Seahome District. Now this is a pretty brand new area of Austin, just built up within the last 10 to 15 years. The Seahome District is going to be primarily high-rise condominiums. But of course it's Austin, so there will be some tech as well. When I make this left-hand turn, I'll point out some notable buildings. So straight ahead, you'll see a building that looks a little bit like a triangle, maybe a shark fin with this big glass facade. This is going to be the new Google headquarters of Austin. And then the tallest building out there that looks a bit like a game of Jenga, right? It's sort of off-kiltered. That is called the Independent, and it's the tallest residential building this side of the Mississippi. You'll get a good view of that on our left-hand side.
One of Austin's hottest developments is the Seahome District. It's actually designated as an eco-district because of its focus on sustainable design. The heart of it is the decommissioned Seahome power plant,
On our
a
left.
great example of Art Deco architecture that's on the National Register of Historic Places. The campus of the former power plant now houses trendy eateries, office buildings, hotels, residential towers, public artworks, and central library.
Alright, so we are on the west side of downtown right now. A good way of knowing that we're on the west side would be following 6th Street. So if you remember, we started off this tour on Dirty 6, But straight ahead of us, we have West 6. So similar to Dirty 6, West 6 will still be lined with bars, but it's a little more upscale, a little less rowdy, and a little bit nicer. And a sure way of knowing that would be all these high-rise condos you see around us. You won't find any condos on Dirty 6th Street. Nobody would ever want to live there.
Creative community is as important to the city's identity as the vision of any master developer. Thanks goes to the Cultural Arts Division of City Government. They manage arts programs, provide grants, commission works of art, and offer professional development for local artists.
Is this huge skyscraper on your left that's about done? When that one is completed, it will be the 4th tallest building in Texas. The reason these are worth pointing out is because if you go to say 10, 15 years ago, everybody knows skyline. So all the skyscrapers and high-rises you've seen on this tour and you see around us are all fairly new, really showing you the rapid growth the city has had. Now we're going to drive through the warehouse district.
Different vibes. The warehouse district is a little more, well, let's just say upscale than the Bourbon Street style atmosphere of 6th Street on weekends. And then there's SoCo, short for South Congress. It's just south. Another good place for a great time.
So Austin is the live music capital of the world, or so it likes to claim. So while you're here though, I would recommend checking out some live music. We got a venue across the street on our right hand side called the Elephant Room. There's no big signs pointing it out. They try to keep it low key, so you won't really be able to see it. But if you see the building that says Accenture when I go up here a little bit, it's going to be just 2 doors down. The Elephant Room has live jazz every night of the week. It's a really cool sit-down venue. If you like jazz, that would be the place I'd recommend going.
Since Texas was once part of Mexico, it's no surprise that Mexican culture is deeply rooted in Austin. And we're not just talking about the amazing cuisine, although we do love our breakfast tacos. Mexican-American culture is in colorful street murals.
Right.
It's one of very few Mexican art museums in the entire United States.
Something that's really popular in Austin are speakeasies. Now, speakeasies are basically little hidden bars, and a good example of that will be to your right. Believe it or not, they don't actually repair floppy disks there.
The roadway, a quaint yellow wooden cottage with a covered porch. Adjacent to it, much closer to the road, is a white stone house with a dark roof.
These are going to be on your right.
The yellow home once belonged to a writer named William Sidney Porter. Not familiar? You may know him by his pen name, O. Henry, the great short story writer. It's now a museum, and every May it hosts the long-running Pun-Off World Championship, where people enjoy engaging in wacky wordplay. The historic white limestone house is the home of Susanna Dickinson, known around these parts as the messenger of the Alamo. She and her infant daughter survived the 1836 Battle of the Alamo and carried news of its fall to General Sam Houston. Her eyewitness account remains a benchmark for historians. This museum provides a peek into early Texas frontier life.
More than dozen of Austin's most popular spots. It's a special thanks to all guests of AO Tours Austin. Most folks are restoring the old Victorian mansions and gingerbread cottages instead of knocking them down, so we still have some great examples of these venerable old houses in East Austin.
Du Bois du Salonier to serve as chargé d'affaires and set up the French legation, which was a diplomatic office. The French representative was not at all happy in his new home. He had high-toned tastes and wasn't used to the primitive conditions of this new independent nation. Relations took a turn for the worse when marauding pigs invaded not only Dubois' stables, but also his bedroom. The Frenchman had his servants slaughter the pigs, which belonged to an innkeeper. Let's just say it caused
houses that were built for Dubois. They're the oldest structures still on their original foundation in the city of Austin.
A fast-changing area of Austin is the East Side, the destination for what's new and next. This historically working-class neighborhood, a stone's throw from downtown, is undergoing gentrification, but in a way that celebrates diverse cultures and cuisines. Want to try a suadero taco or a bonbon hot dog? The East Side's got it. You won't find chain stores, but hipster shops, trendy watering holes, brewery tap rooms, and some amazing street art are here. Over the next 3 years, he worked to turn a quiet, forgotten graveyard into a cemetery Texans would be proud of. Bullock once noted, kids can come out here and in one day learn more about Texas history than a whole semester in class. It's about the best example of East Side revitalization we can show you. Many graves are quite elaborate, but when Bullock died on June 18, 1999, he was buried in an unassuming grave. His tombstone reads, "God bless Texas."
James Mitchell to Tom Landry, the legendary coach of the Dallas Cowboys. The earliest veterans buried here date back to the Revolutionary War. More than 2,220 Confederate soldiers and their spouses are buried here too. Among the most visited graves is that of Chris Kyle. Kyle was the former Navy SEAL who served 4 tours in the Iraq War and was the deadliest sniper in U.S. military history. His best-selling book became the movie American Sniper. Visitors often leave notes thanking him for his service.
So if you have seen the film American Sniper starring Bradley Cooper, then you recognize the name Chris Kyle. He will be on your right-hand side. And then to your right is Confederate Field. These are the graves of over 2,200 Confederate soldiers and their wives.
Houston-Tillotson University is among the earliest historically black private colleges in the state. Jackie Robinson coached its basketball team for 1 season before going on to break the color barrier in Major League Baseball in 1947.
We're making our way to East 11th Street right now.
East 11th Street used to be lined with music clubs. One of the few remaining venues is a historic one, Victory Grill, and what a legacy. Victory Grill opened on VJ
On your right.
Victory over Japan Day in 1945. and welcomed African American soldiers returning from the war. It was among a string of bars, theaters, and juke joints on the so-called Chitlin Circuit that featured African American entertainers who were otherwise excluded from performing in white clubs throughout wide swaths of the country.
On your right-hand side will be Franklin Barbecue. I'll talk about that in a second.
Texans love a party. We have festivals year-round, but two of them have taken on lives of their own.
Where the University of Texas football team plays seats over 100,000 people. Now we started to mention the endowment. They talked about the Santa Rita #1. That's going to be across the street on your left-hand side. That's that old-school oil rig. You'll see those sort of wheels attached to it. You'll get a good view of that Santa Rita #1 on your right-hand side. An ode to all that oil that made them the richest school in the nation. On your right-hand side.
Across the street, it's hard to miss the giant bronze Lone Star
To your left.
in front of the Bob Bullock Texas State History Museum. It takes a museum this big to tell the stories of Texas.
The main building of the University of Texas at Austin, or what we simply call the UT Tower, is a symbol, bathing it in the university's color.
As the Bremond Historic District, some of the original homes are gone, but the 11 that remain are the last vestiges of Austin's extravagant Victorian architecture. The John Bremond Jr. House was the first in Austin to have an indoor toilet. Some have cast iron wraparound porches and magnificent southern columns. And of course, most are built with the limestone that is the signature building material of this region. Although interiors have been updated, the facades look pretty much like they did when they were first built.
So this one on the end is definitely my favorite. Also, just a good example of how interesting and cool this is, because you have that Victorian style home from the 1800s, and then as you continue driving straight ahead on our right, we have this huge glass skyscraper just one block over. That was finished in 2021. This is the new Indeed headquarters. So sort of that dichotomy of old and new sharing a space is pretty unique. You don't see that very often, and you'll see a lot more of that as we approach Congress Avenue. You'll see a lot of buildings from the 1800s and then brand new buildings.
It's been said that Congress Avenue isn't just the main street of Austin, but the main street of Texas. It was conceived back in the 1800s as a kind of ceremonial boulevard, stretching all the way from the river to the Texas State Capitol building. At that time, the street was lit by gas lamps and crowded with mule-driven streetcars near towers. Today, Congress Avenue is on the National Register of Historic Places.
We're now going to make our way towards the Texas Governor's Mansion.
Complex includes one of the very few residences in which a governor still actually lives. The Executive House is a beautiful building that was burned to the ground in 2008. The governor's mansion was empty at the time, but it took 4 years and millions of dollars to restore it back to its original grandeur. Contact the Texas State Capitol Visitor Center for information on tours.
It caused $20 million in damages to the building, and they never caught the person who threw it. we're now going to make our way around the Texas state capitol. This would be the #1 thing I recommend you check out while you're here in town. It's completely free to enter. You just need to go through a quick security checkpoint. So definitely carve out like an hour of one of your days while you're here and go check out our capitol.
The Capitol building is a Renaissance reflective beauty. When officials got the green light to build a new capitol, the national competition was Meyer's inspiration for his design, none other than the United States Capitol in Washington, D.C. Well, you know everything in Texas is bigger, so it may not surprise you to learn that the Texas Capitol is taller than the nation's capital. It's not taller by much, but that doesn't matter. We'll take it. We can't let you leave here today without telling you about the namesake of our city, Stephen Fuller Austin, a Virginia-born, Missouri-raised, Kentucky-educated gentleman. He really got around, and that's only the half of it.
And the Paramount continues to host the top acts of the day.
Alright, we are now going to start to make our way back towards the visitor center. I'd like to thank you all for taking this tour with us today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, positive reviews like TripAdvisor or Google reviews goes a long way for our company because we are just mom-and-pop business. I believe there are QR codes you can scan on the backs of the seat in front of you. That'll take you directly to one of those links. If you are leaving a good review and want them to mention my name, which was Michael, I would appreciate that. Makes my bosses happy, and they have an incentive program for us to hit a certain amount of good reviews mentioning our name, so it definitely would help me out.